Commander Jake Morrison sat in his captain's chair aboard the USS Liberty, watching the stars drift past through the main view screen. The exploration vessel had been patrolling the Outer Rim territories for 3 months now, mapping new star systems and searching for signs of intelligent life. Jake had served in the Earth Space Navy for 15 years, but this was his first command of a deep space mission. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines and the occasional beep from the sensor stations. Lieutenant Sam Cooper worked at the communications console, monitoring subspace frequencies for any unusual signals. The crew of 85 had settled into a comfortable routine during their long journey into unexplored space. Jake was reviewing the latest survey reports when the communications panel suddenly burst to life with an urgent transmission. Sam's hands flew over the controls as he tried to clean up the signal. The message was breaking up badly, filled with static and interference that made it almost impossible to understand. "Sir, I'm receiving a distress call," Sam reported, his voice tense with concern. "It's coming from somewhere in the Kepler 442 system, about 6 light-years from our current position." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "Can you clean it up?" Sam worked frantically at his station, applying various filters and signal enhancement protocols. Slowly, a woman's voice began to emerge from the static. "This is Captain Lisa Burke of the research vessel USS Horizon. We are under attack by unknown alien vessels. Our shields are failing and we cannot escape. They have disabled our engines and are demanding our surrender." The message continued, but the signal grew weaker with each word. "The aliens call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. They claim this space belongs to them and that humans have no right to be here. They are preparing to board our ship. If anyone receives this message, please send help. We have civilian scientists aboard, including xenobiologists and engineers. Do not attempt a rescue unless you have significant military support." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Jake stared at the view screen, his mind racing through the implications of what they had just heard. This was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and it was not going well. "Sam, can you get a fix on their position?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. The signal originated from the 4th planet in the Kepler 442 system. That's where Captain Burke's expedition was supposed to be conducting geological surveys." Jake knew Captain Burke by reputation. She was one of Earth's most experienced deep space explorers, a veteran of dozens of survey missions who had discovered more habitable worlds than any other captain in the fleet. Her ship, the USS Horizon, carried a crew of 45, including some of Earth's best scientists. "What's our ETA to that system?" Jake asked his navigator. "At maximum warp, approximately 18 hours, sir," came the reply. Jake considered their options. The USS Liberty was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They carried basic defensive weapons and shields, but nothing designed for serious combat. Their mission was scientific exploration, not military engagement. However, they were the only human ship within range to respond to Burke's distress call. "Get me Admiral Rodriguez at Deep Space Station Alpha," Jake ordered. The main view screen flickered and displayed the weathered face of Admiral Kane Rodriguez. The Admiral was in his 60s, a career military officer who had overseen the expansion of Earth's deep space exploration program. His expression grew grave as Jake explained the situation. "This is a hell of a thing, Jake," Rodriguez said after hearing the full report. "First contact with an alien civilization and they're hostile. The Horizon was carrying our best xenobiological team. We can't afford to lose them." "Sir, the Liberty isn't equipped for military action," Jake replied. "We're an exploration vessel. If these Zephyrians have advanced technology, we might not stand a chance." Rodriguez was quiet for a moment, clearly weighing the risks. "Jake, I'm going to authorize something that goes against every regulation in the book. 3 weeks ago, our engineers completed installation of experimental defense systems on several ships in your patrol group. The Liberty was one of them." Jake's eyebrows rose in surprise. He had noticed some unusual modifications being made to his ship during their last maintenance stop, but the engineers had been secretive about the details. "What kind of experimental systems?" Jake asked. "Enhanced shield generators using quantum field manipulation, improved energy weapons with variable frequency output, and something called adaptive armor plating," Rodriguez explained. "The technology is based on theoretical physics that our scientists have been working on for years. We never thought we'd need to test it against alien weapons." The Admiral leaned forward, his expression serious. Jake, I'm ordering you to proceed to the Kepler 442 system and attempt a rescue of Captain Burke and her crew. You'll be supported by Lieutenant Commander Alex Martinez aboard the USS Ranger. She's been conducting stealth reconnaissance in that sector and should reach you within 12 hours. Jake felt a mixture of excitement and fear. This would be humanity's first military engagement with an alien species, and the outcome could determine Earth's future in the galaxy. What do we know about these Zephyrians? Nothing, Rodriguez admitted. Burke's transmission was our first contact. We have no idea what their technology is like, how many ships they have, or what their intentions are regarding humanity. You'll be going in blind. Understood, sir. We'll do our best to bring Burke and her people home. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Jake, this mission is classified at the highest levels. If something goes wrong, Earth Command will officially deny any knowledge of your actions. You'll be on your own out there. The transmission ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. He had joined the Space Navy to explore new worlds and make contact with alien civilizations. He had never imagined that first contact would involve a rescue mission against hostile aliens in a ship equipped with untested experimental weapons. Jake activated the ship's intercom system. All hands, this is the captain. We have received a distress call from a fellow Earth vessel that has been captured by hostile aliens. We are proceeding immediately to attempt a rescue. All departments prepare for potential combat operations. This is not a drill. The bridge erupted into activity as the crew prepared for their first real mission. Jake watched his officers work with professional efficiency, but he could see the tension in their faces. They all understood that they were about to make history, one way or another. The USS Liberty changed course toward the Kepler 442 system, its experimental weapons systems powered up and ready for humanity's first test against an alien empire that had never encountered the unpredictable nature of human determination. Captain Lisa Burke sat in the detention cell aboard the massive Zephyrian flagship, her hands bound with energy restraints that glowed with a soft blue light. The cell walls were made of some kind of living metal that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Through the translucent barrier, she could see her crew members in similar cells along the curved corridor of the alien vessel. The Zephyrian ship was unlike anything Burke had ever imagined. The walls were organic, growing and shifting like the inside of some enormous creature. Bioluminescent patches provided light that changed color based on the ship's activity level. The air had a strange metallic taste that made her throat burn slightly with each breath. Burke had been studying alien civilizations for 20 years, but encountering them firsthand was completely different from reading theoretical papers. The Zephyrians were tall, nearly 8 feet in height, with elongated limbs and skin that had a metallic sheen. Their faces were angular with large eyes that seemed to shift color depending on their mood. When they spoke, their voices had a harmonic quality that made her bones vibrate. Fleet Commander Thakhar had visited her cell earlier to interrogate her about human military capabilities. Burke had tried to explain that the USS Horizon was a research vessel, not a warship, but the alien commander seemed convinced that humans were planning some kind of invasion of Zephyrian space. Your species builds ships that travel between stars, Thakhar had said in his strange, harmonious voice. This requires advanced technology and military organization. You cannot convince me that humans are peaceful explorers when you possess such capabilities. Burke had attempted to explain the concept of scientific exploration, but the Zephyrian commander seemed unable to understand the idea of interstellar travel for any purpose other than conquest. In Zephyrian culture, apparently, only military forces were allowed to leave their home systems. Now Burke sat alone, watching the activity in the corridor through her cell barrier. Zephyrian soldiers moved past with weapons that looked more like musical instruments than guns. Their armor was also organic, seeming to grow directly from their skin and changing shape based on the situation. Dr. Amy Foster, Burke's chief xenobiologist, was in the cell across from her. Amy had been taking mental notes about everything she observed, treating their capture as an unexpected research opportunity. Despite their dangerous situation, Amy's scientific curiosity remained stronger than her fear. Lisa, Amy whispered across the corridor, have you noticed how their technology seems to be based on biological principles rather than mechanical ones? Burke nodded carefully, aware that their conversations were probably being monitored. Everything seems to be alive somehow. The ship, their weapons, even their clothing. It explains why they can't understand our approach to technology. Amy continued, we build machines, but they grow everything. Their entire worldview must be completely different from ours. Burke had reached the same conclusion. The Zephyrians seemed to view technology as an extension of biological evolution, rather than mechanical engineering. Their ships were not constructed but cultivated, grown in orbital bioyards over periods of years or decades. A low vibration ran through the ship, and Burke felt her stomach drop as if they were accelerating rapidly. Through a small viewing port in her cell, she could see other Zephyrian vessels moving into formation around the flagship. The alien fleet was massive, consisting of at least 12 large bioships and dozens of smaller escort vessels. Each ship was unique, grown for a specific purpose with specialized organic components. Some were clearly warships with weapon ports that looked like gaping mouths filled with energy-focusing organs. Others appeared to be support vessels with external growth chambers and resource processing systems. Burke had been a starship captain long enough to recognize a military formation when she saw one. The Zephyrian fleet was arranging itself in a complex three-dimensional pattern that would allow them to concentrate their firepower while maintaining defensive coverage. These aliens clearly had extensive experience in space warfare. A young Zephyrian soldier approached her cell, his armor shifting from dark green to bright blue as he moved. Burke had learned that the color changes indicated rank and function within their military hierarchy. This one appeared to be a communication specialist based on the organic headset growing from the side of his skull. "Human female," the soldier said in heavily accented English. "Fleet Commander Thakar requires your presence in the tactical center. You will observe the destruction of your rescue vessels." Burke's heart sank. Somehow the Zephyrians had detected the approach of human ships. She wondered who Earth Command had sent and whether they had any idea what they were flying into. The Zephyrian fleet was clearly designed for large-scale military operations. Against advanced opponents, the soldier escorted Burke through the winding corridors of the bioship toward what she assumed was the bridge. The walls seemed to react to their presence, glowing brighter as they passed and dimming behind them. She could hear the ship's organic systems working around her, a constant background noise of pumping fluids and electrical impulses. The tactical center was a vast chamber filled with floating displays that showed three-dimensional representations of the surrounding space. Zephyrian officers stood at organic control stations that seemed to respond to their touch and even their thoughts. In the center of the room, Fleet Commander Thakar studied a holographic display showing the positions of approaching human vessels. "Your rescue fleet consists of 2 ships," Thakar announced without turning to look at Burke. "Both are smaller than my smallest, escort vessel and show energy, signatures that indicate primitive propulsion, and weapon systems." Burke studied the display and felt her heart skip a beat. The tactical readout showed the USS Liberty and what appeared to be the USS Ranger approaching the Zephyrian fleet. The human ships looked incredibly small compared to the massive biovessels surrounding them. "Your ships will be destroyed quickly," Thakar continued. "We will analyze their wreckage to learn more about human technology. Then we will follow their course back to your homeworlds and determine whether your species poses a threat to the Zephyrian Empire." Burke realized that this encounter would determine not just the fate of the rescue mission, but possibly the future relationship between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. If the human ships were destroyed, the aliens might view Earth as either too weak to worry about or dangerous enough to require preemptive action. She watched the tactical display as the 2 human vessels approached the alien fleet, wondering if Commander Morrison and Lieutenant Commander Martinez had any idea what they were about to face. Lieutenant Commander Alex Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Ranger, watching the sensor readings with growing concern. The stealth reconnaissance vessel had been her command for 2 years, and she had never seen anything like the massive fleet that appeared on their long-range scanners. 12 enormous bioships hung in space around the 4th planet of the Kepler 442 system, each one larger than any human vessel ever constructed. The USS Ranger was designed for covert operations, equipped with experimental cloaking technology that bent light and sensor waves around the ship's hull. Alex had used this advantage to get closer to the Zephyrian fleet than should have been possible, gathering crucial intelligence about their formation and capabilities. Chief Engineer Maya Phillips worked frantically at her station, analyzing the energy signatures coming from the alien vessels. Maya had designed many of the experimental systems installed on both the Ranger and the Liberty, and her expertise would be crucial in the coming battle. "Commander, those ships are generating power levels that are off our charts," Maya reported. "Each biovessel is putting out energy equivalent to a small star. Their weapons could vaporize our ships in seconds." Alex studied the tactical display showing the positions of both human ships relative to the massive Zephyrian fleet. The USS Liberty was approaching from the opposite side of the planet, following standard rescue protocols. Commander Morrison had no idea what he was flying into. "Can we communicate with the Liberty without revealing our position?" Alex asked. Lieutenant Dan Rogers at the communications station shook his head. "Any transmission strong enough to reach them would give away our location to the aliens. Their sensor technology appears to be incredibly advanced." Alex made a difficult decision. She activated the ship's intercom system to address her crew of 35. "All hands, this is the commander. We are about to engage a vastly superior alien force in an attempt to rescue our fellow humans. Our only advantage is surprise and our experimental technology. I won't lie to you about our chances, but I believe in this crew and this ship." The USS Ranger's experimental systems came online one by one. The adaptive shielding technology began analyzing the energy patterns of the Zephyrian weapons, preparing countermeasures for attacks that hadn't happened yet. The electromagnetic pulse weapons charged with power, their frequencies tuned to disrupt biological technology based on Maya's analysis of the alien ships. Alex watched as the USS Liberty dropped out of warp space directly into the Zephyrian formation. Commander Morrison was either incredibly brave or completely insane to approach the alien fleet so boldly. The Zephyrian bioships immediately began moving to surround the human vessel, their organic hulls pulsing with increased energy output. The first shots came from the largest Zephyrian vessel, beams of concentrated energy that struck the Liberty's shields with tremendous force. Alex held her breath as she watched the human ship absorb the attack, its experimental shielding flaring bright blue as it converted the incoming energy into harmless radiation. "My God," Maya whispered. "The adaptive shields are actually working. They're learning from each attack and adjusting their frequency to counter it." Commander Morrison's response was immediate and unexpected. Instead of retreating or trying to fight the entire fleet, the Liberty launched a spread of electromagnetic pulse torpedoes directly at the Zephyrian flagship. The weapons struck the bioship's hull and exploded in brilliant flashes of electrical energy. The effect on the alien vessel was dramatic. Its organic systems began malfunctioning as the electromagnetic pulses disrupted the electrical signals that controlled its biological components. Weapon ports that had been glowing with energy suddenly went dark, and the ship's smooth movements became erratic and uncoordinated. "The EMP weapons are affecting their neural networks," Maya explained excitedly. "These bioships have nervous systems like living creatures. If we can disrupt their electrical impulses, we can disable them." Alex saw her opportunity. "All hands prepare for attack. We're going to hit them while they're confused." The USS Ranger decloaked directly behind the Zephyrian formation, its weapons already charged and ready. Alex targeted the closest bioship with a concentrated EMP barrage, watching as the alien vessel's systems began failing one by one. The ship's organic armor started changing color rapidly, shifting from healthy green to sickly yellow as its biological functions shut down. The Zephyrian fleet reacted with surprise and growing alarm. Their tactical doctrine was based on overwhelming firepower and superior technology, not on facing opponents who could disable their ships with weapons they had never encountered before. Several bioships turned to engage the Ranger, but their movements were slow and uncoordinated compared to the agile human vessel. Captain Tony Garcia, aboard the USS Falcon, arrived just as the battle reached its peak intensity. The escort vessel had been patrolling a nearby system when it received Alex's emergency transmission. Tony brought his ship in fast and low, using the planet's gravity well to slingshot around and strike the Zephyrian fleet from an unexpected angle. The three human ships began working, together with a coordination that surprised even Alex. Commander Morrison seemed to understand her strategy instinctively, using the Liberty's superior firepower to draw the aliens' attention while the Ranger and Falcon struck at their flanks with precise EMP attacks. Maya had discovered that the Zephyrian bioships were networked together through some kind of biological communication system. When one ship was damaged, the others felt its pain and tried to compensate. This collective consciousness made them incredibly effective against conventional opponents. but it also created a vulnerability that the humans could exploit. If we can overload their network with enough disruption signals, we might be able to cause a cascade failure throughout their entire fleet, Maya suggested. Alex immediately understood the implications. Coordinate with the Liberty and Falcon. We need to hit multiple ships simultaneously with maximum EMP output. The 3 human vessels maneuvered into position, despite the increasing desperation of the Zephyrian attacks. The alien bioships were beginning to adapt to the EMP weapons, their organic systems developing resistance to the electromagnetic pulses. The window of opportunity was closing rapidly. Lieutenant Sam Cooper aboard the Liberty had been analyzing the enemy formation and discovered something crucial. The Zephyrian flagship was not just the command vessel, but also the central nervous system for the entire fleet. If they could disable it completely, the other bioships would lose their coordination and become vulnerable to individual attack. The combined human fleet focused all their firepower on the flagship, overwhelming its defenses with a sustained barrage of electromagnetic pulses and conventional weapons. The massive bioship began to convulse as its neural networks overloaded, sending waves of disruption through the alien fleet's communication system. Dr. Amy Foster pressed her face against the viewing port of her cell as explosions lit up the space around the Zephyrian flagship. The battle was unlike anything she had ever witnessed, with human ships darting between the massive biovessels like insects attacking giants. The electromagnetic pulses from the human weapons created brilliant flashes of light that made the alien ships writhe in apparent pain. Fleet Commander Thakhar stood frozen at his command station, his harmonious voice now sharp with disbelief. "This is impossible," he repeated in his native language, his skin shifting from confident gold to alarmed red. "These primitive vessels cannot be causing such damage to our biofleet." The Zephyrian tactical officers worked frantically at their organic control systems, but Amy could see panic spreading through their ranks. Their bioships had dominated galactic warfare for centuries, and they had never encountered an enemy that could turn their greatest strength into a weakness, Captain. Burke watched from her position near the tactical display as the human ships executed maneuvers that defied Zephyrian military doctrine. The USS Liberty performed a barrel roll around a damaged bioship while firing electromagnetic pulses at point-blank range. The alien vessel's hull began changing color rapidly as its nervous system overloaded. "Your ships fight without honor," Thakhar declared, his voice carrying a note of genuine confusion. "They do not engage in direct combat but use deception and strange weapons that cause our vessels to turn against themselves." Burke realized that the Zephyrian concept of warfare was based on honor and direct confrontation. Their bioships were designed to face enemies head-on, overwhelming them with superior firepower and organic technology. The human approach of using electromagnetic pulses to disrupt biological systems was something they had never considered possible. The flagship shuddered as another wave of EMP attacks struck its hull. Amy watched in fascination as the ship's organic walls began pulsing erratically, their bioluminescent patches flickering like a dying light bulb. The living metal of her cell barrier started to weaken, its energy field becoming unstable. Chief Engineer Maya Phillips aboard the USS Ranger had made another breakthrough in her analysis of Zephyrian technology. She discovered that the bioships used harmonic frequencies to coordinate their attacks, with each vessel contributing to a collective consciousness that made their fleet incredibly effective against traditional opponents. "Commander Martinez," Maya reported over the intercom, "I found a way to turn their own communication system against them. If we can broadcast the right frequency pattern, we can make their ships think they're under attack by each other." Lieutenant Commander Martinez immediately understood the implications. "Do it," she ordered. "Transmit the harmonic disruption signal on all frequencies." The USS Ranger began broadcasting a complex pattern of sounds and electromagnetic waves designed to confuse the Zephyrian bioships. The effect was immediate and devastating. Several alien vessels began firing on their own fleet members, their biological brains unable to distinguish friend from foe under the influence of the harmonic interference. Fleet Commander Thakhar watched in horror as his carefully coordinated fleet dissolved into chaos. Bioships that had fought together for decades suddenly turned their weapons on each other, their organic neural networks corrupted by the human signal. His flagship was losing power as its biological systems struggled to maintain basic functions under the electromagnetic assault. "Sir," one of his tactical officers reported, his voice trembling with fear. "We are receiving surrender requests from 7 of our bioships. Their neural networks are so damaged that they can no longer distinguish between our vessels and enemy targets." Thakhar had never heard the word surrender used in relation to Zephyrian forces. His species had conquered dozens of civilizations through superior technology and military doctrine. The concept of defeat was so foreign to him that he struggled to understand what was happening. Dr. Foster used the chaos to her advantage. The electromagnetic pulses had weakened her cell barrier enough for her to work on the locking mechanism. Using her knowledge of biological systems, she found the neural cluster that controlled the door and carefully disrupted its electrical signals. The cell door dissolved like melting wax, and Amy quickly moved to free Captain Burke and the other crew members. The Zephyrian guards were too distracted by the battle to notice the escaping prisoners moving through the corridors of the flagship. Burke led her crew toward the shuttle bay where their research vessel was being held. The USS Horizon had been disabled but not destroyed, and Burke hoped that Maya's electromagnetic weapons might have disrupted the Zephyrian control systems, enough for them to restart their engines. Lieutenant Commander Martinez coordinated the rescue operation while continuing to battle the remaining functional bioships. The USS Liberty moved into position near the flagship, its experimental teleporter systems preparing to extract Burke's team directly from the alien vessel. Commander Morrison had been studying the Zephyrian formation and realized that their flagship was not just a command vessel but the central nervous system for their entire military doctrine. If they could capture it intact, they would gain invaluable intelligence about alien technology and military capabilities. "Alex, can you keep them distracted while we board their flagship?" Morrison asked over the communication system. "Affirmative," Martinez replied. "The Ranger and Falcon will maintain the electromagnetic barrage. You have maybe 10 minutes before they adapt to our frequency patterns." Captain Tony Garcia brought the USS Falcon in close to provide cover fire while a human boarding party teleported directly onto the Zephyrian flagship. The alien ship's defenses were so disrupted by the EMP attacks that they couldn't prevent the human intrusion. Burke and her crew reached the shuttle bay just as the human boarding party arrived. The reunion was brief but emotional, with everyone aware that they were making history as the first humans to successfully board and capture an alien warship. Fleet Commander Thakhar found himself facing human soldiers in his own tactical center. The electromagnetic weapons had disabled most of his security systems, and his remaining crew was too confused by the harmonic disruption to offer effective resistance. "Your species has violated every principle of honorable warfare," Thakhar said as he was taken into custody. "The Zephyrian Empire will not forget this humiliation." Commander Morrison looked at the alien commander with a mixture of respect and determination. Perhaps it's time for the Zephyrian Empire to learn that honor isn't the only path to victory. Sometimes survival requires adapting to new realities. Admiral Cain Rodriguez stood in the command center of Deep Space Station Alpha, watching the live transmission from the Kepler 442 system with a mixture of amazement and pride. The tactical display showed 3 human vessels surrounded by 12 disabled Zephyrian bioships, their organic hulls dark and powerless in the void of space. What had started as a desperate rescue mission had become humanity's first major victory against an alien. Empire. Commander Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system from the captured Zephyrian flagship. "Admiral, we have successfully secured the enemy command vessel and rescued all members of Captain Burke's crew. The alien fleet has been neutralized using electromagnetic pulse weapons and harmonic disruption technology." Rodriguez could hardly believe what he was hearing. 3 exploration vessels had defeated an entire Zephyrian battle fleet, using experimental weapons that had never been tested in real combat. The implications for Earth's position in the galaxy were staggering. Captain Lisa Burke appeared on the main view screen, her face showing exhaustion but also excitement. "Admiral, the intelligence we've gathered from this flagship is incredible. The Zephyrians have detailed maps of dozens of star systems, including the locations of other alien civilizations that they've conquered or made contact with." Dr. Amy Foster stood beside Burke, holding a collection of alien data storage devices that pulsed with their own internal light. Sir, their biological technology is centuries ahead of anything we've developed, but it has fundamental weaknesses that our electromagnetic weapons can exploit. More importantly, they've never encountered anything like human military tactics. The news of the battle had already begun spreading throughout the galaxy through various intelligence networks and communication channels. The Zephyrian Empire had been one of the most feared military forces in this region of space, and their defeat by unknown aliens called humans was causing shockwaves throughout dozens of civilizations. On the distant world of Kepler-186, a species called the Vortani received the transmission with disbelief. They had been paying tribute to the Zephyrian Empire for over 2 centuries, their entire economy devoted to supporting the alien military machine. The news that the biofleet had been defeated by primitive newcomers seemed impossible. Council leader Vextar addressed the emergency session of the Vortani government. If these reports are accurate, the humans have accomplished what we thought was impossible. They have proven that the Zephyrian Empire can be defeated. Similar reactions were occurring on worlds throughout the sector. Species that had lived under Zephyrian domination for generations suddenly saw hope for liberation. Resistance movements that had been dormant for decades began organizing, inspired by the example of human courage and ingenuity. Fleet Commander Takahar sat in a human detention cell aboard the captured flagship, his metallic skin now a dull gray color that indicated depression and defeat. Lieutenant Commander Alex Martinez had been questioning him about Zephyrian military doctrine and the structure of their empire. "Your species fights without understanding the consequences," Takahar said, his harmonic voice now flat and lifeless. "The Zephyrian Empire controls hundreds of worlds and thousands of bioships. When word of this defeat reaches our home systems, they will send a fleet so large that your entire species will be destroyed." Martinez studied the alien commander with calm determination. "Perhaps your empire should consider that humans don't fight the way you expect. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up. Your bioships were designed to fight enemies who follow the same rules you do." Chief Engineer Maya Phillips had been analyzing the captured Zephyrian technology and making discoveries that would revolutionize human science. The bioships used organic computers that could grow and evolve, creating processing power that exceeded anything in human technology. However, they were also vulnerable to biological warfare techniques that humans had developed centuries ago. "Commander Morrison," Maya reported, "I found something incredible in their databanks. The Zephyrians have been avoiding contact with a species called the Terrans for over 50 years. They have files that describe humans as unpredictable and potentially dangerous." Morrison was puzzled by this information. "That's impossible. This was our first contact with them." Maya pulled up a holographic display showing Zephyrian intelligence reports. According to these files, they detected human radio signals decades ago and have been monitoring our technological development. They classified Earth as a potential threat specifically because our technology doesn't follow biological principles. The revelation that the Zephyrians had known about humanity for years but had chosen to avoid contact added another layer to the situation. Their attack on Captain Burke's research vessel had not been a chance encounter but a deliberate test of human capabilities. Captain Burke had been studying the tactical data from the alien flagship and made a disturbing discovery. "Admiral, the Zephyrians have detailed invasion plans for over 30 star systems. They've been systematically conquering civilizations using the same bioship technology we just defeated." Rodriguez realized that humanity had stumbled into a much larger conflict than anyone had imagined. The rescue mission had revealed the existence of a galactic empire that viewed other species as either subjects or threats. Earth would need to decide how to respond to this new reality. Lieutenant Sam Cooper aboard the USS Liberty detected incoming transmissions from multiple star systems. "Sir, we're receiving communication requests from dozens of different species. Word of our victory has spread faster than we expected." The first transmission came from the Vortani homeworld. Council leader Vextar appeared on the view screen, his insectoid features showing a mixture of hope and desperation. "Humans of Earth, we have heard of your victory against the Zephyrian biofleet. Our people have been enslaved by their empire for 200 years. We request your assistance in gaining our freedom." More transmissions followed from species throughout the sector. The news of humanity's success had inspired resistance movements on dozens of worlds. Some requested military assistance, Others offered technology exchanges, and a few warned about massive Zephyrian reinforcement fleets that were already being assembled. Admiral Rodriguez made a decision that would change the course of human history. Commander Morrison, I'm ordering you to establish a permanent base in the Kepler 442 system. Earth Command is sending additional ships with our latest experimental technology. It appears that humanity has become a major player in galactic politics whether we intended to or not. Commander Morrison looked around at his crew, seeing determination and excitement in their faces. Understood, sir. The human age of expansion has begun. The captured Zephyrian flagship would become the foundation for humanity's first deep space military base. Its biological technology studied and adapted for human use. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the newest player in the game could change all the rules simply by refusing to accept that victory was impossible.